Well, today marks day 2 of the latest pretrial hearing for Bradley Manning. The Army private is accused of leaking massive amounts of classified information to the whistleblowing website WikiLeaks. Lawyers for both the prosecution and defense today argued over the military withholding hundreds of emails related to Manning's detention in Quantico, Virginia. For more on what happened with the case today, I was joined by Alexa O'Brien, founder of USDayofRage.org.
Today there was a lot of housekeeping. The big discussion today related to a motion that happened yesterday that you mentioned around these 1,300 Quantico emails. And so 700 of those are in contest. 84 were given over after the defense had already filed an Article 13 motion to argue about the illegal pretrial confinement of Bradley Manning. And everybody knew that this Article 13 motion was supposed to happen during this session back to January of 2011. The government decided to hand over 84 of the 1,300 emails after that motion had been filed by defense. It's interesting. Listening to the government talk about these emails is like listening to a heroin addict who's stolen your wallet offer to help you find it. There is a great complicity all the way up to Lieutenant General George Flynn down to the company level. So that's what's being sort of discussed in court.
Can we talk more about these emails in question and what they possibly contain and why the motive is there to keep them under wraps?
Well, the emails themselves reveal what the motive is. And some of those, as described by the defense, are Quantico's desire and the U.S. government's desire to spin the stripping and the keeping of Bradley Manning on maximum prevention of injury watch, to spin it to the advantage of the U.S. government. I mean, there's emails also that were described in court that essentially implicate the staff judge advocate and the U.S. government working with the prosecution to try to counter this Article 13 motion. What's interesting is that this is really not just surprising news. This is actually fleshing out what the U.S. government has been doing since early January of 2011. I mean, the defense didn't learn that Bradley Manning had moved from Quantico to Fort Leavenworth until, according to the defense's postings, the government found out that the defense knew about a secret high-level Quantico meeting in January where the security battalion commander, Robert Altman, essentially said that nothing was going to change. Furthermore, there is clearly an implication, as I said, of the chain of command from Lieutenant General George Flynn, the Quantico base commander who turned down Bradley Manning's earlier Article 138 complaint about his treatment at Quantico, the security battalion commander, Robert Altman, the two Quantico brig commanders. The January commander was CW04 James Averhart. And then in the March incident of the stripping was CW02 Denise Barnes. Emails show that Denise Barnes was more concerned about her career. And everyone from the company level upward knew that this lieutenant general essentially had put out the order that nothing was going to change as long as he wanted Bradley Manning at maximum security prevention of injury watch.
Also want to bring up, prosecutors said today that they have evidence showing that Manning knew he shouldn't present classified information to people that aren't authorized to receive it. What do you think about this argument the prosecution makes?
Well, it's interesting. I mean, what you're talking about is the desire by the government to pre-admit 3 uncharged, what they consider wrongdoing or criminal behavior that's not charged. And the defense came back and said, if the government wants to use a counseling incident at essentially when Bradley Manning was training to be an analyst, he posted personal videos on YouTube. And they were like, to his family, and they said, like, hey, I'm here from my top secret location, and he got canceled on it. That you're not supposed to post stuff like that on the internet. The defense said if the government wants to use these, they should put these on the charge sheet. That there is case law that shows that, you can't simply just connect it together just because it relates to the elements of the charges, knowing, wantingly causing, and all those kinds of things. So that's what's going on with that.
Okay, today is just one of a series of pretrial hearings. We've been covering them as this kind of plays out. Why are there so many of these?
Well, these are actually, why are there so many of these? Two questions. These motion hearings are actually typical for any court martial. I mean, this is where the prosecution and the defense hash out the instructions for the panel that will judge him, what will be admissible, what won't, the definitions that you give to the charges. I mean, what does it mean to indirectly give intelligence? People don't know what that means. And of course, it has to follow the precedent, the legal precedent and legal case law. Why are there so many of these? That's a good question. I mean, Bradley Manning has been in confinement for 2 years now, and the government really actually wants to push it past February, his trial date past February. I suspect that there are a couple reasons that could be. One of them could be how they are strategically converging this military prosecution with a potential imminent criminal prosecution of what Special Agent Mark Mander referred to in the Article 32 as the 7 individuals uncovered to have been doing wrongdoing that are being investigated by the FBI, including the founders, owners, managers of WikiLeaks. So there's certainly a lot of other forces at play in this prosecution.
Right, Alexa, thanks so much for keeping us updated on this very important and controversial case. That was Alexa O'Brien, founder of USDayofRage.org.